She's got color back in her neck, and she is an ideal patient. I mean, she ate the whole breakfast for lunch.
Okay, everyone, good evening and welcome again to this beautiful place, this holy place, where we gather together for holy reasons. And may all our spirits be here together as we engage and listen and share with each other in the space and the container created by Fariba and the Rumi Educational Center and the poetry of Rumi, who is the container in which we relate to one another here. My name is Janice Setzer, and I am on the board of the Rumi Educational Center. And many of you might know Anna Stefano. Did I say that right? And Anna is the president of the board, and we have two other board members. One who is on his way in traffic, Kevin Ferguson, who should be here in a moment, and another who is up in the Bay Area, Rick Moody. We have the pleasure of meeting together with Fariba semi-regularly to vision into the gifts that she brings into this world and how to best support her in having those gifts expressed. And tonight is one of those opportunities to experience that. So welcome again. And I met Fariba 20 years ago in this very place. And it was one of those evenings where I was working with a nonprofit out in the backcountry of Santa Barbara, and I would come into town every once in a while, and I didn't know Santa Barbara very well. And I was doing something all day long, probably back in the day where you had to go into the nonprofit center and look on their database for grants and stuff. I think I was doing something like that. So it's nighttime and I'm on the freeway, and I remembered seeing in the Independent something about Rumi poetry and whatnot, and I kept driving and I missed all the exits, but something prompted me to turn around and come all the way back. And I was late. But I walk into this magical room with this magical being and these few other people, and I had heard of Rumi, but quite honestly, I had no idea what I was in for. And I feel like the experience for me was, Rumi poems are like these gifts, these precious gifts wrapped in exquisite cloth, gifted to us. But what Fariba does is she unwraps them carefully, opens them up, and lets those gifts out. And then the room is filled with the spirit of Rumi. And I was connected, I guess is the way to say it. Not hooked, but really connected. And Fariba has been a special person in my life, a mentor, a teacher, a friend. And sometimes when I'm on the phone with her, I even feel like she's just channeling Rumi. It's just wild. For those of you who have sat in a class where Fariba really unpacks the wisdom of Rumi, you know what I'm talking about. For those of you that haven't, if you have the opportunity, I highly encourage it. So tonight we gather, and there will be poems read, and Fariba will speak. And in fact, Fariba is a scholar on Rumi, and her dissertation really focused, it centered on the transformation of Rumi. And so we're in times that kind of call upon us to be the transformation in a way. And so tonight it's really about, it's about listening, it's about connecting, and it's about dreaming into how we can collect together again on a regular basis and be some of that change that Rumi has inspired us
I
to
met
do.
Fariba when she was a doctoral student at Fielding Graduate University. And I was a faculty member
and have since retired and am now Provost Emerita. And we had many long walks along Shoreline Drive talking about her dissertation, about the transformative aspects on people who read and studied it. She seemed to think that somehow those conversations with me were helpful to her. And she did graduate, so I'll take some credit for that. And after she graduated and after I retired, she thought it the perfect opportunity to ask me to join the board because I would have nothing to do. So I did join the board, and I'm humbled by being on this board because what I know of Rumi's poetry, I know sort of not intellectually but experientially through Fariba and through the work of the Rumi Center. And so I'm very much a learner on the path of learning more. So hardly an expert, and I'm on the board really to help with organizational issues, which happily I think Rumi didn't worry too much about, but Fariba will tell us. I just want to tell you that after Fariba speaks, and Janice reads a poem, and Alice Fulmer of UCSB also shares a poem, and Jeanette Love of Church of the Beatitudes reads another poem. You get the theme about poetry. One of the things we wanted to do, as Janice said, was to, in a sense, dispel with the notion that the Rumi Center is some place where you come to get rather than to contribute. So that it's really about weaving connections among and between us, and connecting us to the worlds in which you live and work and that matter to you. And especially to do that by bringing Rumi's thoughts and views and philosophy of love into action, into a world that so desperately needs it. And will need it more with each passing day, I believe. And so stay tuned for opportunities to become part of the fabric of the Rumi Educational Center by bringing what's important to you into the space so that we can help each other create the world that we want. So with those words, so we're going to have some discussion, and then at the end of the evening, to begin, I introduce Dr. Fariba and Tashari.
Katie, come on over. Oh, we just did the introduction. Kevin Ferguson, Vice President of the board. So thank you for making it.
Sorry, traffic was a little bit busy coming down from San Luis Obispo, but I just wanted to welcome everyone, and I think you've been introduced, right?
Yes.
So you guys have all met Fariba. I've been active with the Rumi Education Center for about 10 years now, and studying with Fariba and working with the organization. So it's good to see a lot of new faces. Just kind of like show of hands, how many people first time coming to something? Oh, quite a few, awesome. Well, one of the things that's happened is we started out kind of in person and we would meet together a lot, and then the pandemic got to us. And so we went to more online. So I'm imagining that a lot of folks are participating more online. And if you think about Rumi and the spirit of Rumi, it really is about that collective experience. But it was amazing to see, and this kind of speaks to Fariba's work, how we were able to continue that through the pandemic. You know, so if you saw our presentation during the pandemic where we recorded it and no one was there, we had the musicians, it was me, it was Fariba, and I don't think this came through. If you have a chance to watch the YouTubes, I think they're still up. But we were kind of reading some of the work and kind of hoping that that would kind of permeate out there wherever people were. And at the end, the musicians just started playing. We were done, you know, reading our poetry, and they just kept going and going and going and going and going and going and going. And you remember the temperature was going up, and the sound was reverberating. We're in this little sort of theater where they do a lot of the projects for the music school in there, and you could feel the energy in the room. It was incredible. And I was thinking that Rumi and Shams, wherever they are, were right there with us as we were sharing in that moment, and hopefully broadcasting that online. So one of the things I wanted to say is it's really warmed my heart to see everybody back here in person, and hopefully we'll get to feel some of the energy tonight. Rumi?
Welcome. I'm happy that we came together. Anna and I were talking about what we wish for tonight. With all this going on in the world, we really wish to take a moment and have a space that we can express our hearts. So let's take a deep breath, all of us, and lean into the spirit, not so much forward toward the world and what's going on, no worries, nothing, just coming together. And I will start reading this poem at first because it's the intention of tonight for us, this poem. The place that Solomon made to worship in, called the Far Mosque, is not built of earth and water and stone, but of intention and wisdom and mystical conversation and compassionate action. The place that Solomon made to worship in, called the Far Mosque, is not built of earth and water and stone, but of intention and wisdom and mystical conversation and compassionate action. Every part of it is intelligence and responsive to every other. The carpet bows to the broom. The door knocker and the door swing together like musicians. This heart sanctuary does exist, but it cannot be described. Why try? Solomon goes there every morning and gives guidance with words, with musical harmonies, and in actions which are the deepest teachings. So tonight is the night and the evening that we held each other in our love for mystical conversation. And from the depth of our hearts, we let our spirit flow in and out. We are form, we are love. But we have to remind each other of the love that our spirit contains. So it's important for us to create this space, to come together and be able to let the spirit come out and tell us the most dearest, intimate concerns that we have, what we would like to do with our compassionate action, because that's the best teachings. And Rumi is excellent in going back to Solomon to daily and remind us that they were the lovers of the beloved. They worship the rooms. They did see really that the rooms are basically kissing the carpet. Doesn't matter who we are and where we come from. That's the Rumi's message. Doesn't matter who you are, where you come from. Come to this house of the worship to open up your heart and see what God has written, what the Spirit illuminates through you. And that's what we call it love through actions. And for that, we need a space to come together from all the mundane and all we are bombarded with today, especially 2 weeks close to the crucial times of our lives. We are seeing in front of our eyes what the news is teaching us about the wars and about the conflicts. Rumi's time was not much better, but he knew by coming to a silence, by coming to a denomination and foundation in himself, he can bring forth the love and spread it. And that would be the best remedy for what the time had offered him. He lost his home in Balkh, Afghanistan today, part of Great Persia at that time, to Mongol. And he almost lost also Konya, closer to his dying days, that he had to negotiate with Mongol to not attack Konya. All he did is to sit back and lean into the Spirit and be able to anchor the spiritual being that he is. And that's what he is teaching. That's why he is relevant to us today. And that's what Janice was talking about, the transformation. Our education needs such a bridge that we have times and a space that we can contemplate on who we really are within our spirit and how do we want to express that regardless of our expertise. Another poem I chose for tonight to give us the space to lean into the Spirit is, when I see you and how you are, you were inside my hand. I kept reaching around for something. I was inside your hand. But I kept asking questions of those who know very little. I must have been incredibly simple or drunk or insane to sneak into my own house and steal money, to climb over the fence and take my own vegetables. But no more. I have gotten free of that ignorant feast. That was pinching and twisting my secret self. The universe and the light of the stars come through me. The universe and the light of the stars come through me. I am the crescent moon put up over the gate of the festival. I am the crescent moon put up over the gate to the festival. No room for form. So one of the funny things about Rumi, he can be very humorous to just perplex us. So disorientation and perplexing us is one of the trick used with words. But his intention is for us to just kind of shake us and let us go deeper within ourselves, because he knows the wisdom is already within. He calls himself midwife because he is just babying us to give birth to this version that he already knows is sitting within us. And for that he gives us this poem and that poem and some of the stories we share tonight. So he's just kind of like a devilish teacher that's saying, okay, I'm going to drum on you because I know there are a lot of goods in you. And I will wait to see what comes out. So that's basically whoever studied with him, no wonder they had so many drums around, because they were really drumming on their hearts to see what treasure comes in. And I think that's really the best things about Rumi's teachings. That doesn't matter if he talks about David, or Solomon, or Moses, or Jesus, or Muhammad. He is just wanting to tell us they were the example of the lovers of this universe, and you can be one too. It's just you have to not be crazy frenzy, he called it. He called all of us crazy frenzy. All of us like, oh, you have no idea what you are Persianist. I know you are Persianist. But let's leave it aside, because you're a lot more. So this is all creating a space to say you are a lot more. And I happen, living within the world we are living, sometimes I'm like, wow, I need to refuge within one of these songs and poems and stories, because this is really bringing us so much away from who we can be in spirit. So it's just 60,000 verses to drum on us. And the midwife telling us, give birth to the part of you that you long for. That's his gift to his time and our time. So he's not kidding with us. He said, no room for form. We just wanted the form be like a robe that we drop in. Any problem, any entanglement that we think we cannot loosen in our mind. He is just really a good reminder for us to say, come on, there is something for you to discover within yourself. This poem, one, on the night when you cross the street from your shop and your house to the cemetery, you will hear me calling you from the inside the open grave. And you will realize how we have always been together. I am the clear consciousness core of your being. I am the clear consciousness core of your being. The same in ecstasy as in self-handling fatigue. That night, when you escape the fear of a snake bite and all irritation with the ants, you will hear my familiar voice. See the candle being lit. Smell the incense. The surprising meal fixed by the lover inside all your lovers. This heart tunnel is my signal to you, igniting in the tomb. So don't fuss with the shroud and the graveyard road dust. So don't fuss with the shroud and the graveyard road dust. Those get ripped open and washed away in the music of our finally meeting. And don't look for me in the human shape. I am inside your looking. No room for form. With love this strong. Beat the drum and let the poet speak. This is a day of purification for those who are already matured and initiated into what love is. Beat the drum and let the poet speak. This is a day of purification for those who are already mature and initiate into what love is. No need to wait until we die. There is more to want here than money and being famous and bites of the roasted meat. Now, what shall we call these new stars? Now, what shall we call this new star of gazing house that has opened in our town where people sit quietly and pour out their glancing like a light, like answering. So, this is just an example and a sip of the wine that Rumi ushered to us, with inviting us to think about the beginning and the ending, and come out of the shell of our being and just open up to the spirit and love that we can have among us. Now I would like to ask you to just take another deep breath and put your hand on your heart and feel the light in your heart connecting to the next person on your left and on your right. And feel the light of your spirit in this room. And by being in this space, let all the worries go away, all the mountains, leave it at the door. Lean into the sweetness of your spirit. And from there, sit with the action and the longing that you haven't expressed before. And make space for that. So even if you don't utter it tonight, maybe tonight, maybe in a week, you can bring forth what you really wanted to do. What did Rumi call it? Compassionate actions and mystical conversations. So I wish you a wonderful conversation, and with that, I'm going to invite who's Janice to share another poem with us. Another perplexing one. So forgive me for the selection of the poems. Rumi has a hand in that. In the class, we just drum on it and chew on them and get drunk and jump up and down. But here, you can do all of it, of course. It's up to you.
This one is called a bowl. Imagine the time the particle you are returns where it came from. The family darling comes home. Wine without being contained in cups is handed around. A red glint appears in a granite outcrop, and suddenly the whole cliff turns ruby. At dawn, I walked along with a monk on his way to the monastery. We do the same work, I told him. We suffer the same. He gave me a bowl, and I saw the soul has this shape. Shams, you that teach us, and actual sunlight, help me now, being in the middle of being partly in myself and partly outside.
Happy to introduce you to our new intern. She's fresh, English major, PhD student at UCSB, and one of the most mystical beings I ever have met. Thank you. So you are going to be devil advocate tonight, right?
Of course.
Go ahead. Alex Fuller.
Well, whoever has ears, let them hear. Goodness. How humbling. Okay. Well, yeah, just a little bit about myself, if I may. Yeah, I met Fariba in this room last year. It wasn't my first time meeting Rumi, but it had been a long time. I remember, kind of poring over volumes like this when I was a teenager, not really getting there. But yeah, those seeds of intention, I think, were planted and they've been, watered very much by Fariba. Yeah, my day job, I study the other side of medieval literature. So, any Chaucer fans in here? If you've ever read the Canterbury Tales, you'll know that Fariba herself is kind of this 21st century incarnation of Alison, right? The well-spoken, just versed in the divine, in God. She doesn't let a man talk to her about the divine without, being able to cite anything and everything that Paul or Solomon said. Be fruitful and multiply. So, very honored to be here tonight. I have a poem called The Mouse and the Camel. A mouse, a mouse caught hold of a camel's lead rope in his 2 forelegs and walked off with it, imitating the camel drivers. The camel went along, letting the mouse feel heroic. Enjoy yourself, he thought. I have something to teach you presently. They came to the edge of a great river. The mouse was dumbfounded. Step forward into the river. What are you waiting for? Step forward into the river. You are my leader. Don't stop here. I'm afraid of being drowned. The camel walked into the water. It's only above the knee. Your knee? Your knee is 100 times over my head. Well, maybe you shouldn't be leading a camel. Stay with those like yourself. A mouse has nothing really to say to a camel. Would you help me get across? Get up on my hump. I am made to take hundreds like you across. You are not a prophet, but go humbly on the way of the prophets. You are a prophet, and you can arrive where they are. Don't try to steer the boat. Don't open up a shop by yourself. Listen. Keep silent. You are not God's mouthpiece. Try to be an ear, and if you do speak, ask for explanations. The source of your arrogance and anger is your lust, and the rootedness of that is in your habits. Someone who makes a habit of eating clay gets mad when you try to keep him from it. Being a leader can also be a poisonous habit. So that when someone questions your authority, you think, he's trying to take over. You may respond courteously, but inside you rage. But inside you rage. Always check your inner state with the Lord of your heart. Copper doesn't know it's copper until it's changed to gold. Your loving doesn't know its majesty until it knows its helplessness. These gifts from the friend, a robe of skin and veins, a teacher within. Wear them and become a school with a great sheikh nearby. Do you want to introduce our speaker for you? All matter, no, to you. Or is it Jeanette Love?
Yes, Jeanette Love is coming. But I wanted to say that Rumi's humor in this poem is even the mouse, is on his journey. And Rumi doesn't even put that down and said, well, maybe you have to wait to become the leader. And I love this part of it, that he is not, against mouse, or so much against, doesn't exist in that poetry. So the camel is, I understand it as a highest station of our spiritual journey, and the mouse is just mimicking and crying and wanting to be ahead. So what's wrong with that? Nothing wrong with that, right? So you wrote me a note and said you love it. You love the poem. Okay, we will have time in discussion. It's really important for you to kind of say, okay, there are words drumming at my heart. So what do they say? So that's for our discussion. And with that, I would like to introduce my lovely friend who has the best last name in the world. And it's amazing that she is a Catholic, ordained Roman Catholic woman priest. Rebellious. Continue. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
And I don't come here alone, because Suzanne Dunn, who raised your hand, is also a Roman Catholic woman priest. Yes. custom for kings to let warriors stand on the left, the side of the heart and courage. On the right, they put the chancellor and various secretaries because the practice of bookkeeping and writing usually belongs to the right hand. In the center, the Sufis, because in meditation they become mirrors. The king can look at their faces and see his original state. Give the beautiful ones mirrors and let them fall in love with themselves. That way, they polish their souls and kindle remembering in others. A close childhood friend once came to visit Joseph. They had shared the secrets that children tell each other when they're lying on their pillows at night before they go to sleep. These two were completely truthful with each other. The friend asked, "What was it like when you realized your brothers were jealous and what they planned to do?" "I felt like a lion with a chain around its neck, not degraded by the chain and not complaining, but just waiting for my power to be recognized." "How about down in the well and in prison? How was it then?" "Like the moon when it's getting smaller, yet knowing the fullness to come. Like a seed pearl ground in the mortar for medicine, that knows it will now be the light in a human eye. Like a wheat grain that breaks open in the ground, then grows, then gets harvested, then crushed in the mill for flour, then baked, then crushed again between teeth, to become a person's deepest understanding, lost in love, like the songs the planters sing, the night after they sow the seed."
We invite you to just start your conversation with your group. You can take a moment of reflection and